often talk to kids than I do to adults, so this is new. First time I'm doing this, so don't give me a hard time. Anyways, first thing is, why am I using the canary? Well, in 2008, I watched the movie Inconvenient Truth, and I thought, ooh, what he's talking about are stuff that I measure in the air. So why don't I send an email to Al Gore and say, I'd like to come to your presentation. And a couple of months later, he says, yes, you can come in Montreal. So I flew to Montreal. I paid my own expenses. There's nothing behind the scene. He's just a teacher. And I was really scared after I watched this, but I thought we had a long runway, so I have time. I come back to Calgary. I write a little note in the engineering journal. I'm a professional engineer, and I got some really nasty email. So then I said, okay, this is interesting. I'm just offered to do presentation. That's why I stayed away for a long time. And then one day I came from my chiropractor. Somebody overheard me saying environment, and he came after me in the parking lot ready to punch me. And I said, okay, I'm not going to risk my life on this. I'm going to stay quiet for a while until things really started showing up that I said I had to come back. And my good friend Adrian here is a great help, great mentor. He drove me from Calgary. He has a Tesla. And now we're trying to tackle this with a group of us, and Biosphere has been really great. So that's why. And using the canary, I'm trying to tell you, it's not me that's telling you, it's the canary. So I get away with it. So you all guys know about the canary in the coal mine. So why is this not? Am I going forward? Okay, we got an issue of, okay. So the canary in the coal mine. The canary saved the lives of thousands of miners. And basically what it did was to find something in the air and then react to it. And actually one day I bought a canary and then returned it, but I did some tests with the canary. And the canary is better than any gas detector you can find. Hopefully this works. This is the gas detector. I was in the business of gas detection. I've been in the business of gas detection, measuring what's in the air for now close to 45 years. So my boss told me, do you know about the canary in the coal mine? I don't know anything about the canary in the coal mine. So now this is what's replaced the canary in the coal mine. And the canary works actually better than this gas detector. So what I want to do is to make the invisible visible. There is a problem with us understanding what's going to happen when we don't see the invisible, or we can't perceive what it does. In fact, some of Trump people that's going to be joining him, I don't know whether you heard that, but his defense minister hasn't washed his hands in 10 years. And his idea was, I don't see any bacteria on my hand, so I don't need to wash it. So it's very, very important for us to be looking at the invisible. This was where I was born. And like a day like today, I say, what the heck am I doing here? And so it's a place, I say born in heaven, because according to Mark Twain, this was heaven. I think it was twisted for touristic purposes, but somehow it makes sense, right? Clean water, clean air, clean food. I had a bicycle. I went around the island 3 times a year with a little tent and camp. That was my holidays. And I go back there. Now it's polluted. Where is it? It's the furthest you can get from Calgary. takes 48 hours to fly there. So it's really, really difficult to go and fairly expensive. But I was there last year. Last year I was there, and this is what I saw. Sandbag protecting the beaches from the rising sea level. So a few years ago, I went back, and they told me that they were burying sandbag underneath the sand. So I hired a guy, went around the island, and I started digging the sand, and I did find the sandbag. But this time, they had to put it right on top of the sand anyways. It doesn't matter, right? So this is what's happening. Anybody remember the flood? A lot of you would. The flood in Canmore and Banff and Calgary and High River. Same year. This is started flooding. This is this year, but it started flooding that time, the same time. And it's happened every year, okay? So I'm going to ask you whether there's a connection. There's a connection, and it's in that bottle here. And I'm going to open it and see whether the canary can detect it. The canary can detect it and does. So is it that simple? Is it a gas in a bottle? Oh, did I go back a little bit? Okay, then this is Valencia this year. And this is obviously Jasper 2024. Do we have connection? This is 5 of the last mass extinction on Earth. Do we have a connection with these? Are these events that was chaotic have a connection to something we don't see, but we should all know about? And what action can we take to untangle that? That fair? So let's see what's in there. This was the lesson I gave to the kids at the Mayor's Expo, and I've adapted it for you guys, but I said, what's in there? Now, the first thing, and when I went to listen to Al Gore, this picture is the first picture he puts up, and it's always behind him. And this is probably the most important picture that I've seen that tells me about where we are and what supports us. This is the thin atmosphere around the Earth. And the way he describes it is if the Earth was this table, it would be the varnish on it, right? It's that thin. It's only 6 miles, 6 mile high. So within minutes, with his Tesla, we could do that in, I don't know, 0.1 of a second. His is pretty fast. So basically, 0.1 of a second. With his car, we could be out of the atmosphere. That's the most important thing we have. How big it is, if you take it and put it on a dot on the Earth, this is all the air we have. And this is all the water we have. Obviously, potable water, because we've taken away the salty ocean water. But that's it, guys. There's not much there. We've got to protect the air. We've got to protect the water. We've got to recycle it, because that's what we started with. With all the technology we have, we can't create air, and we can't easily create water. So, talking about air, I won't talk too long about that. But on my trip to Mauritius, I stopped in London and saw this newspaper article. And this is a girl that passed away from what you would call, basically from asthma or whatever. But her mother was determined to sue the city of London and say she passed away of air pollution. First person in the world to have a death certificate that says death by air pollution. If you go to London, you're not allowed to bring your car in central London. And the reason is this. I think in climate change, sometime in the future, there'll be a lawsuit. And that lawsuit will change everything. And it's best for the lawsuit to come from a kid. So is it the death of a kid, or is it going to be something else, right? So that's what changed things. If you go to London now, clean air, all electric buses, electric taxis within 4 years. So let's analyze the air and make it visible. So if we have the Earth atmosphere, let's take 1,000 balloons, right? You can even take golf balls. So if we take 1,000 of them, we put it around the atmosphere, we're going to distill the air and put it in these balls, right? And then we'll understand what we face with. So the first thing we're going to do, the most important for us, is oxygen, right? Adrian, you have a monitor that actually measures the oxygen content in the air right here. 20.9. 20.9. So we'll take 209 balls, fill it up with oxygen, and we've taken all the oxygen away into those golf balls, if you want to call it. The blue one is nitrogen. Now, nitrogen is essential for plants. Oxygen is good for us. Nitrogen is good for our plants. We've got to have the two, right? We can't live without plants, right? So that's the nitrogen, 780 balls. Then you have argon, which is 9 of them. So you're left with 2 balls. I don't know whether I put the math correct. I think it is. But anyways, we have 2 golf balls. Okay, so I'll give you one. You can keep it. So I'll take one of the balls. I'll take Adrian. I won't take it personally. I'll just you keep it, and I'll tell you what's in there. So one of the ball, we'll put everything else that's not nitrogen, oxygen. We'll put CO in it. We'll put CFCs. We'll put all the gases. We'll fill that ball up. Okay? So now we've got one of the most important gas in the air. And we're going to call it's CO2. So carbon dioxide is actually causing all the havoc in the world. Imagine that, one gas. I mean, there's other things, but let's focus on CO2 because that's what we control, that's what we all breathe. We started on Earth with 250 parts per million. So 250 parts per million means 250 in 1 million balls, if you want to call it. But that's why I made it simple on 1,000. So you got 1 ball. Quarter full. And then it went up, went down. Over the years, it caused a warming period. It caused extinction. It caused everything. This one gas causes everything. Why is the moon very, very low in temperatures? CO2. That's it. So it's the gas we should pay most attention with. And I won't tell you what the politician is doing with CO2 right now. I'll tell you later. But that's the most important. And this is what's happened to it. I hear a lot of times that, oh yeah, things move in cycles. Yes, they do move in cycles. But when it's on the top at 280, let's say 300, it is a warming period. When it is down at 180, it's an ice age. So this is how it controls it. It's almost like a refrigerator that you control the thermostat. CO2 is the thermostat of the Earth. And we might have given the thermostat to the politicians in both Alberta and the US right now, right? And so currently we're going up, of course. And this is the graph that scared the hell out of me when I was in Algo's classes. I said, what the heck is this doing? Going up in a straight line like that, right? Now, somebody did some research. Of course, scientists are great at doing research and confirming things. 350 parts per million was the ideal CO2 level we should have had on Earth. It would have removed all the ice ages forever. And it would keep us at a very good temperature. But of course, we went past that. There's 350.org that keeps saying, hopefully we can bring it down. But I'm not too sure yet. But this is the ideal CO2. Yes, people are right. It goes up and down. And it's nice that it was up, but not that high. Okay, where is it now? So it keeps going up. It's almost like the lungs of the Earth. It breathes and then it loses capacity. So where you see it comes down, that is North America, including Canada. The sun points to North America, which is our summer. The trees come out and the CO2 comes down. This is how sensitive it is. Trees, CO2. That's your recycle, right? Simple, simple. Now, I did some measurement of CO2. So CO2 is the thermostat of the Earth. Don't forget that. And like I said, we've gladly given a control to, I won't say the word, here's the canary. It died because of too much CO2. Right? Simple. And CO2 is actually the measurement I make all the time inside. People will call me up and say, I've got a headache at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I know it's not enough fresh air. So I measure CO2, send a report, and say, let's fix this. Last time I did one like that, it was the Calgary Immigrant Association. They all said they had headache. There's something in the air. And I went there and I said, okay, where's the air coming in? I did some measurements. And I said, you forgot to deliver air to the offices. That's why they're feeling a headache. Imagine that. They bill an office, they forgot to bring fresh air into the offices. So I'll give you some facts, which is pretty incredible. You probably won't believe it, but Adrian and I send research all the time. We confirm those things. We're passionate about trying to find facts and looking at things. But this is one fact. We breathe one of the most polluted indoor air in the world. And I actually are involved with 40 condos here. I check their parkades. And one day, just after the pandemic, I came here in the morning. I smell something. I pull out my CO monitor, found pollution in the air, and then found them in the ground. So we breathe some of the most polluted air. Why? Because we love our cars next to us in parkades. So if any one of you, have a condo with a parkade, you've got polluted air right inside your car when you leave. So I'm trying to fix this. In fact, I invited the property manager to come, and I invited them for me to give a presentation, and they said, no, thank you. So I want to do more education. Second thing, 2024, we had lots of fires. We now the largest CO2, the fourth largest CO2 in the world, okay? China is first, second is United States, third is India, fourth is now Canada. We quietly went for that, right? Do you remember seeing that information and sharing it and saying, whoa, what happened? What happened? So we are the largest CO2 emitter per person in the world. Fact. not fiction, fact. Gave us great opportunity. It is good. We individually can make more effort, have more success than anybody in the world. And I'll show you how easy it is. So I started measuring CO2 for a year, 2023. This was London in Greenwich. I wanted to be on the Meridian line and see what it was like. And so I measured 435 ppm. The numbers doesn't quite matter totally, but relative measurement. That's not the official measurement, that's the measurement in London, with a very cheap instrument, right? But what I wanted to show is, I go back to the trees, and the trees, it's lower, right? Trees, CO2 is doing its job. Okay, so easy. And I've taken CO2 measurement everywhere I went, in the planes, and I actually was on Emirates airline, and they had a bar. They upgraded me to business class. I took my laptop just like he had to give a presentation to the passengers and the staff, and it was great. And I was measuring CO2, and great fun. Anyways, then I went to Mauritius. And I got so excited. I've never seen this. I landed there. My sister took me somewhere. The first thing I did is measure CO2 414, right? And then there was this plant next to it, 392. I said, whoa, the trees are doing its job. And this is so great of a picture. I got so excited. Measured everywhere I went. And it was great numbers, 392. That for us is great numbers. Trees are doing its job. Then this year in February, I was visiting Asian countries, Japan, Philippines, and China, which is Hong Kong. And I got a bit of a shock. I was measuring this and I said, whoa, there is a problem. The CO2 level was quite high, and I couldn't find the trees that it would work. I kept going around and looking for trees and finding it, and it wasn't coming down. I got like, holy moly, something is going on with the air. I mean, I'm kind of weird, right? Nobody sees those things, but I measure them and see them. And I got so worried. I was on the beach, and I had my laptop, and I was offered a tour, and I said, no, I don't. I want to go on a small beach, see what's going on. I saw sandbags, and then I was measuring the CO2, and then when I saw this, I got some kids. I happened to actually speak a few words of Tagalog. So I went to the kids, talked to them, and said, guys, something is happening. Can you guys come and listen to me? I'm going to teach you something. So I had my laptop. I gave similar presentation. And I said, guys, I'm going to give you a prediction. This year will be the hottest year you've ever experienced in your life. It was February. Everybody knows the world temperature was the highest ever this year. I'm no God. This is CO2, simple. Anybody can do that. And then I said, there is a bigger problem. The CO2 seems to be at a level where the trees are not working as well. And I know, talking to Adrian, and then eventually I looked up and I said, okay, what is happening? So there's a CO2 monitor in Mauna Loa in Hawaii, and it shows that it's been going up faster. So when I was born in 56, they started in 58, it was going up 0.7 ppm. Now it's 2.8. I think it's even more than that, right? I think it's 3, the last. So the official numbers now. And there's a caveat. They basically said the wind was in the wrong direction. I don't believe that. I'm afraid that when Trump comes in, whether these information will be given to us or will it be, well, this is critical for us. What can we do, right? So let's have some hope. Let's have some better turn of events. So there are Three Sisters Mountain. So I wasn't aware of that, but one says faith, one says charity, one says hope. Yeah. So we're at a point in history where we each have the power to do something big. I am totally net zero emission, by the way, net zero pollution. I travel, but I'll show you how I do it. Right? And we all have an opportunity right now to do that, to really change things, to move mountains. So I'm going to tell you about the 6 P's. I call them their peaks. I've used the word P's so that you get it and you remember it. We're at a point in the history of mankind where we've got to be careful where we're going. We've got to be aware where we're going. And we've got to take advantage of things. So the first peak, I would call it energy supply. Maybe a lot of you don't realize. You go to your gas station, you fill up, everything is okay. You notice the price goes up, goes down. You don't know why. You just kind of go along with the flow. There's something that's been happening. 1970, we run out of cheap oil. The stuff that you just drill, suck. And it's because it takes energy to get energy. So I have been in Fort McMurray several times. And one of my things was, holy moly. First of all, I don't like sand that doesn't look, white sand. I'm a fan of white sand. So I saw this dark sand and they had to take energy, get it out. And I realized they must be running out of the cheap stuff. Why would they go after that stuff? Then in the US, they're fracking. Fracking is sending some stuff and really blasting it. Why would you do that? Because you're running out of the stuff. Okay? So, I follow this. I spend, like I was saying to somebody, I spend a lot of time listening. And I listen to a lot of people, a lot of scientists. We are at peak production of oil. It's going down from now. What happens when it goes down? Prices goes up. Okay, we are at that point. The second one is consumption. It's actually going down too. Anybody knows why? Yes. So essentially, basically, consumption is going down because of electric vehicles and some of us doing this. Sometimes you should, when you meet somebody with an electric vehicle, go to him and say, thank you. You're keeping the price of gasoline down. Who is doing the most right now? China. They cut. We all cut. There's no way in all the rest of it. But China is the leader. 1.8 million barrels a day is cut. That's why the price is going down. But you got to keep it going down. Otherwise, prices goes up. Is the oil company going to tell you that? Hell not. Their product suddenly goes up in price. It's like their stock. Okay, the third peak is how many consumers we have. And to call it a P, so that's why I call this one petrol production, petrol consumption. I lived in the UK, so I call it petrol sometimes. And this one is consumers, but I'll call it population. How many people are out there buying this stuff? And right now, if you look at it, the population is starting to curve a little bit. Okay, so the consumers, you'll obviously have Elon Musk that says, hey, keep growing. I want to sell my cars, but that's where we are. So who's doing the most? Who's doing all three peaks coming down, all three peaks? Yes, China. Obviously, they put renewable, they put renewable energy and so on. So they don't have production, but even their core production now is stable. They're dropping their consumption pretty rapidly. Then their population is coming down. And as you can see on that mountain, the population will never come down like the other things. It will come down slowly. So you have to do all three things at the same time. Okay? So this is a point at which we have control of the price. We all have to work together. We all on the same planet share the same air and share the same energy, right? And everybody affects each other. Okay, now there's three hidden peaks, three things that are happening that I'll tell you about. One of them I discovered, well, I'll tell you about the first one first, and then I'll tell you about the second one. Pollution. Pollution kills 7 million people a year around the world, and it's going up. Cigarettes kill 7 million people a year. So just like the cigarette company, you're killing your own customers, right? So that will have an influence. But I started looking at this research, and I'm not prepared to actually share that right now because I need some more data. But I did some research on pollution that I'm actually publishing now for parkades to get clean air. And as part of my research, I was studying the effect of pollution on us. And we've added to the atmosphere from the stuff that we make. Nobody would believe that. How many chemicals have we added to the atmosphere that we created? Adrian, any ideas? 50 million. So if you added 50 million in the air, would it have an effect on us? Probably, right? So one of the effects that I'm not prepared yet to talk about because I'm still waiting for the latest research will affect our reproductive system, that will affect birth rate. But I want to wait for some more data. The data I saw is pretty drastic. Okay? Because things does exactly like the mountains. They go up, they go to a peak, and then they go down. Everybody think, what's this mountain called? Castle Mountain, my favorite mountain by Lake Louise there, because it goes like flat. I love that, right? But mountains are like this. So it goes up, take a lot of effort, and then it comes down. So we might see that. And we're talking about 10, 20 years from now. So I'm going to wait. Maybe one day I can share that information once I got more data. Then there is population. I will call it population just before, because it's a P. And I found that in Canada. In 2019, I was invited to show my Tesla actually to the kids that was learning about the environment. It was, I think you know the group that was doing environmental conference, and they were showing Teslas and having meetings and all the rest of it. Something I noticed is that the boys were really interested in my car, talking about my car. Some boys were like I didn't sleep because I'm going to see your car the next day. And the girls were talking about something different. And what I overheard some of the stuff is that the girls were concerned about climate change, and a lot of them kind of said, "We're not going to have kids because of climate change." I see, that's interesting. I've never heard that before, ever in my life, right? So I did some research, contacted somebody, and says, tell me a little bit more about what you're doing and blah blah blah. And I started listening to conversation. There is a big movement happening that they look at climate change and the solution, and they basically saying, we're not sure about the world, right? And so that is an effect that will happen. The third one is politics. Politics, especially gender politics. What Trump did in the US was to basically split the men and the women and disrespect women in general, right? And there was one president that came to power that did this exact thing, not as crude as Trump does it, though, just a little bit more subtle. Anybody knows that country? Or guess? South Korea. So the president decided he's going to go after the male vote, and so as soon as he got into power, no equality for women. Change that department. Cancel that. What happened to South Korea? Went to the lowest birth rate in the world within a few years. So politics, gender politics, might have an effect, a hidden effect, and we won't see it for a few years. So those are the things that will change the dynamic. Energy usage, climate change, and everything else would be influenced by those, right? So you have it, hopefully. You like my thing of the mountain, so now when you see the three sisters, you'll say, hey, there's a few things. Okay. So then one day I went to 3 classes with Al Gore, right? He lives in Nashville. And so I went to a class, second class, and then I went to a third class. And then he showed this, and I had a hurrah moment. We've solved the problem. And basically, what it is when he showed the car and where the energy goes, everybody's talking, oh, the engine, I think, is 70%, 80%, whatever, right? And then he put all the thing in, and then suddenly I see this 1% to move the driver. Okay? So I said, whoa, if I stand in the car and reverse that equation, I have the power to change the world. All I have to do is to teach this. Of course, it never worked. So I changed my way of teaching. But look at this. We get into a car and we have very little energy to move us. I know you guys are trying to get bikes and walking and camel. Great idea. That's kind of what we should be doing. I love electric cars, but I prefer my electric bike, actually, than my electric car. And because of this, because nobody has figured out the equation that after you've lost all this energy, you are 200 pounds, the car is 2,000 pounds, you lost more energy. Then I look at hybrid. Where does the energy go? Idling. Idling is a big thing. You're not going anywhere. What's your efficiency? 0. Simple. Right? I see people leave their car running, especially when it's cold. What's your efficiency? 0. What's your mileage? 0. Right? So hybrid are great. I've driven hybrid since 2003. Never driven a gas car since 2003. Great technology. Then electric came in. And Adrian knows that. How much efficient we are. 50%. All the energy goes right into the wheels and we move. We save a tremendous amount of money. With my business, my accounting skill and all the rest of it, my Tesla makes me $600 a month. It doesn't cost me, it makes me, because I get gas allowances, which is based on gas, and I hardly have any expenses, right? So if you own a business, you drive an electric car, you charge at work, you eliminate a lot of wasted money. So this kind of didn't work. I don't know why, so I changed it. So I said to people, why are you burning your money? And Adrian will give a couple of you or four of you this envelope that I give to people, and you're creating pollution. You're creating pollution. Don't open it yet. And I'll tell you when to open it. Okay. Of course, I cannot, by law, I cannot burn money. So I had to create my own money and then burn it. So that's what happened. And the guy spent 100 hours on this, and he charged me, I think, 10 hours on doing the work. It was just a gift. So, gas car, you burn your money, and then you move the driver. Hybrid car, 10 times more. So what I want to see when you open the envelope, tell me how much money it is to move you out of $50. So go ahead and tell me. And I hope you teach other people, right?
The pen is terrible. I don't like it.
The back of the is, what is it? 50 cents. So you just put $50 in your gas car, and 50 cents is to move you. Right? Incredibly wasteful. And you created pollution, and you've altered, whatever we're going to be altering with there's all these chemicals. Incredible. So we can solve two problems at once. And I haven't put electric in there. Reducing indoor air pollution and emission can be done by hybrid or plug-in hybrid. So what I'm trying to tell you, and I don't want to force you on anything, is don't buy a pure gas car. Buy a hybrid. Buy a plug-in hybrid. You will solve the emission problem, and you will not be idling. So I work in parkades. I have people starting their car from their bedroom before they go down. And I'm supposed to be going next to a car and I have to watch. Is this car on? Is there somebody in it? Because it's dangerous for me. Carbon monoxide is one of the most dangerous things. Everybody should be touching the CO2 because it's so important. So pass on the CO2 and maybe the CO as well. Just remember, CO is the worst gas we can ever be faced. CO2 is the worst gas for the planet. Right? Okay, let's tell you the good stuff, the really simple, exciting, good stuff. This is my office. I put 29 solar panels, but I decided to put 6 solar panels on the side to educate people. I have a big billboard and I tabulate, oh, my solar panel will produce so many kilometers, right? So you see that, and that was just by coincidence, just for advertising. But get this fact, and remember this fact. 6 solar panel in Alberta will drive the average driver for 1 year. That's it. That's it. Isn't that amazing? Wow. The 29 solar panel will produce 100,000 kilometers. 100,000 kilometers. Okay? Now another experiment. The power of solar. this is my latest ground mounted. Why is it dark? I don't know. But anyways, so this is Adrian's car, the fastest car in the world and the most eco-friendly, eco-exhilarating car in the world. This is my Tesla. I put that against the solar panel and mounted the solar panel. These two solar panels, which if you flip, they would also act as a carport. If you go to the Calgary Science Center, they have carport full of solar panel, and you can hide from the hail too. So each of these cars, we are very, like we drive a lot, both of us. Each car, the solar energy from there will drive 100 kilometers each. Okay, so 6, this one would run the car for 100 kilometers. Then about a month and a half ago or something, we did an experiment. The two of us decided to drive to the electric car show in Vancouver. And I have total now 68 solar panels between my office and my home. We monitored the solar panel on the phone. We drove to Vancouver. We stopped in Kelowna, stayed over in Kelowna, drove 4 hours to the trade show, come back to Kelowna, and then the next day, drive to Calgary. All the energy was produced by 60 solar panels. 700 kilometers a day. How incredible is this? Absolutely incredible. 6, 60. You don't need more than 60 panels. Yeah, unless you drive to Vancouver every day. So if you're an Uber driver, whoa, right? So we're all common. I want to share this with you. All of us here drive a car with 2 batteries in it, right? I'll explain how. I've got a battery for my accessories. You got a battery for your accessories, right? For your starter and everything else. Then I have a battery to run my engine, which is potential of energy. You've got a battery to run your engine, driven by solar. The only difference is it took millions of years to create the energy in the fuel for you to use. So if we're out of gasoline, if you want to drive a gasoline car, you have to wait a few million years to produce the fuel. It is solar because it's from an ancient sun. All we're doing is driving a car with fresh sun. That's it. We're all in it together. Right? The problem is easily fixed. We've got to focus on CO2. Forget about plastic, forget about any of that stuff, forget about carbon capture. All these are crazy stuff. Us, remove everything we know. It's us and the trees. That's it. That's what was by us. Us and the trees. How many trees is it to recycle our air? Simple again. I'll give you a formula. I've been working very closely with AI actually, and coming up with all this stuff rather than doing research. AI has been, and I found AI was excited about the ideas I have. This was a bit incredible because AI said, "Oh, you got some great ideas." It was funny. Anyways, 20 trees is what every person need to recycle the CO2 they generate. 200 trees is what we need for the car to recycle the CO2 it gives out. You have a choice. You can put solar panel and less trees, or put trees and no solar panels. You can plant trees here, you can plant trees somewhere else. I don't know how. I was doing some research. There's one country in the world that's understand that trees is going to be important, although they're changing their energy system. China has planned to plant 80 billion trees by 2030. They have it in their plan. Where are we? We know how many trees we need. We can calculate it. We can do that. It's simple math. Right? That's my presentation. So questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and comments or anything.
Just want to say thanks for like a refreshing take on this, and Kae is master of